Hello and welcome to But He's Catholic. I'm Tom,
And I'm Ellie.
and I think first of all, we've got to apologise for our very long hiatus. What's it been?
Yeah,
2 months, 3 months?
possibly three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a bit of a chaotic time. So sorry to any regular listeners, all three of you.
that actually
Uh,
might have noticed that we weren't posting.
yeah, so
We are back.
we are back. It's been a chaotic summer, but
Yeah, we
we're
call
back.
it the summer of three weddings and a funeral.
3 weddings and a funeral.
No, four weddings and a funeral.
Four weddings and a funeral.
So-
So we've been all over the place, and then there's been other stuff,
Yeah,
changing jobs and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's been fun, but yeah, busy, and unfortunately, I guess, this hobby fell off the cliff a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're back and we've got loads planned. So please do keep listening.
Ellie, what is your week's question?
Well, so this one came about after, I guess, slightly heated debate around your family's dinner table.
Yeah.
Your mum posed a point about the death penalty and how a lot of, especially American Christians, perhaps say it's justified and they argue for it. But her point was, how can you call yourself Christian and not be opposed to the death penalty? Because obviously Jesus was all about turning the other cheek, and he, without sin, cast the first stone. And I mean, Christianity is all about salvation, and we've spoken in previous episodes about the always having the chance of redemption. So that was an interesting point from her, but you, I think, felt quite not necessarily strongly opposed, but you had some very clear arguments against her point. So I thought maybe we could explore those in a bit more detail.
Yeah, so we'll start off with so things have developed. It's not a yes, execution's good or execution's bad. I think the church has, for most of its history, believed that execution is not in for execution of certain criminals is not inherently evil. But that has developed till today, so we'll go through that. But we'll start with, I guess, kind of early church history, and actually, early church history has no issues with executing criminals. So I think in Catholic social teaching, which is the idea about how societies and governments and laws should be based around Christian principles, the central idea is that the preservation of what it calls the common good is the most important thing.
Right.
And people like Thomas Aquinas, in particular, he talks a lot about the common good. He says that the preservation of the common good is way more important than the interests of one individual. And the job of a government is to protect the common good.
Right.
And in societies gone by, the preservation of the common good has required execution of certain criminals.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
What about thinking about actually Jesus himself was obviously executed, and he was executed along two thieves. Would you say that was in the best interest of the common good because it's just theft? I think these days we would be like, oh, only execution for the most dangerous, like serial killers and
Yeah, I think the church would agree. I think the early church and kind of early medieval church very much saw execution as the last resort.
Right.
So I think certain, maybe thieves, probably not, but certain, especially violent crimes, would be necessary. So Thomas Aquinas, when he talks about it, he pulls out a few quotes from the Bible about people like Paul in Corinthians or Peter talking about how you've got to like cut people out of evildoers have to be kind of cut out of society, like a cancer cut out of the body. And he used that to justify that actually it is not inherently evil to execute evildoers, to remove them from society to protect the common good. However, he still himself says it has to be the last resort. You have to have considered other options. You can't just go straight to execution.
a bit like, again, your mum made the point of, I think she said the Normans or somebody, they were really against execution. They tended to like chop off bits of you rather than chop, I don't know, your head off or any kind of execution.
Well, I mean, the Norman criminal justice system had a lot of execution in it.
Okay.
But yes, they did also use things like eye gouging and stuff like that.
So I guess that's what
But
you mean. It's like a last resort if the eye gouging got you to stop doing the bad
well,
things.
maybe, yeah. I think in past societies have tried to use other methods to discourage criminals to protect the common good or to ensure that they can't commit crimes again. But yeah, we've now moved to, I guess now we'd see more of a penal system.
Yeah. So it's more a case of back then it wasn't like issued as a punishment, it was issued for the good of everybody else, whereas now we see it more as a justice
With
thing.
both, does it provide justice? Does it provide retribution? Does it provide a deterrent? But most importantly, in Catholic social teaching, it's all about the preservation of the common good.
And what about things like the fact that Jesus stopped that stoning of the woman for adultery? He who is...
Again, I think you've got to be. It's about the specifics. So she was being stoned for adultery. Is that proportional to the crime that she's committed? No. So I think when he's saying anyone that's not committed sin, you can cast the first stone, he's making the point that probably this is extremely disproportionate to what she's done compared to like what we all do as sinners.
Right.
Whereas if it was a mass murderer, it probably would be an acceptable response in the 1st century AD to remove that person from society through execution. So I think that is used by people that want to argue against capital punishment as a non-Christian idea. That's the kind of quote they use. But I think that's a very specific example.
Okay.
I don't think that then applies to rapists and murderers and paedophiles.
It's a different level of sin.
Yeah, I think Jesus doesn't want people being executed for what we'd call, I guess, moral sins.
Yeah.
So, moral crimes. So things like adultery. Like, I think that's much more, that could be dealt with in other ways. It doesn't need death.
What about the 10 Commandments and whichever number it is of thou shalt not kill?
Yeah, again, I think thou shalt not kill it's okay. It's quite a simple, don't kill anybody. But then if you think about it, one's if you need to protect yourself, one's if it's self-defense, one's if it's, as we've talked previous episodes, we talk about just war. So I think that thou shalt not kill sounds very simple, but actually thou shalt not kill is talking about not murdering people for like gain or jealousy or just killing people for the fun of it. Not whether you in a society where things go wrong, do you protect the society by execution?
Well, interestingly, when I was doing a little bit of looking into this, I did see some arguments people made about thou shalt not kill kind of applies to the individual, not like government sanctioned state capital punishment.
Agreed. I think, again, and that's a really good point, yeah, because the Catholic social teaching puts a lot of emphasis. We talked about this in Just War, the idea of the just authority. So it can't just be anybody. I can't just go and do like summary executions of people. It's got to be part of Catholic social teaching is that everything is done by a just authority and a government, not by individuals. So yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, yeah. So I guess over time, you're talking about like well, not ancient, but like very historic times. More recently, in terms of history, it's become sort of generally accepted that you don't execute people.
Agreed.
Especially not in the gruesome ways they used to. So like obviously a few states in America still do executions, but it's very, very rare compared to history. So why do you think that attitude has changed and how does it link with Catholicism?
So I think the attitude has changed because we now have a developed penal system. And I think that's what's changed the conversation.
So like we have prisons.
We have prisons. So we don't need to necessarily execute people to preserve the common good and keep them away from society. We can put them in prisons. And we can talk about, I don't know, are these people worth it in a financial sense? But in a moral, spiritual sense, yes, there is an alternative to executing people, even the worst criminals, that still allows the preservation of the common good. Now, if that system broke down for reasons, government's running out of money, we're talking from the UK, all our debt problems, the prison crisis.
Well, they are releasing people now early.
That probably shouldn't be released.
Because they've run out of space.
Because they've run out of space. Then, because if there's literally no money to have an effective rehabilitative penal system, then yes, maybe execution would now again be the ethical thing to do to preserve society. Because if your option is literally, we have no money, we've got to release loads of, especially in the UK at the moment, quite a lot of horrible criminals onto the street, or we use execution to preserve the common good, I think Catholic social teaching has no issue, the church teaching has no issue with using execution to free up that prison space.
Do you think that's just Catholics? Do you think the Church of England would come around to that?
I mean, no, the Church of England would never. The Church of England would just say, release them all, wouldn't it?
Be kind.
Be kind, set them all free, forgive. But no, I think Catholic social teaching, as I said, Augustine, we're talking just war, he talks very much about how acceptable it is to kill the enemy, kill any threats to Christian society, preserve the common good. Not only is that not sinful to do that, it's actually the good thing to do. If you doing something to preserve the common good isn't just a trade-off, it is the good thing to do. And Thomas Aquinas then builds on that by saying, yes, it is preservation of the common good is the most important thing and goes above any individual interests, but there's still the caveat that it has to be the last resort, which is where a modern thinking has developed. So Catechism of 1992, John Paul II, Catechism very much says that execution is acceptable and acceptable for Catholics to support it. However, yet again, it's got to be a last resort. And it does discuss kind of development of a penal system. And then if you get into even the later years, so we've got conservative Pope Benedict XVI, what some consider to be a very liberal Pope Francis, they both agree in their writings.
Francis agreed.
Francis and Benedict both agree on this, that because since 1992 the Church's teaching about the penal system has become developed enough, and we can all argue about this, but effective enough, quotes, effective enough to deal with these people and to preserve the common good without public execution, so therefore execution is not necessary because we have a developed, effective, sometimes penal system. So in 1992, we're saying it is acceptable to support it, but we need to focus on developing other methods for rehabilitation and preserving the common good. By the update of the Catechism in 2018, because of the thinking of lots of people in the church, but especially Pope Francis, Pope Benedict, the Catechism now changed and says that the church does not support execution. That there's no need for execution, and actually the church and all Catholics should fight for the eradication of capital punishment around the world, because it's not necessary if you have an effective penal system. But as we've just said, if the penal system can't cope, or for whatever reason, whether that's financially or socially, it's just society's crumbling, and there's too much crime, and there's too many people going unpunished, and the common good is being perversely impacted, then no, it would be completely acceptable and the good thing to bring back executions, because the most important thing, the state, to a Catholic is the preservation of the common good. I
wonder how many times you're going to say that phrase in this episode. I hope someone's counting. No, that's interesting, and you make the point of things changing. And actually, I think a lot of people would probably agree that the justice system is kind of starting to crumble a bit. I mean, I don't think I was paying enough attention, or at least I can't think back to 2018 when you say that catechism was, I don't know, made.
Edited.
So, that's 8 years ago. Obviously, a lot has changed socially in that time. I assume Pope Leo has not said anything about it.
No, Pope Leo's kept to that line. He thinks that, again, we've got systems in the modern world which doesn't require executions. That's not to say we couldn't get to a point. I hope we don't get to a point where we have to go back to executing. But I think the important distinction is that there wouldn't be anything inherently wrong in that if that is required to preserve the common good.
It's just when do we get to that point?
It would be better if we actually put more money into the criminal justice system rather than not funding it and then releasing prisoners that haven't actually served their term or still pose a threat to their victims and society. No, I think that's all fairly good points. I guess my next thing was going to be an argument that often gets made just generally about not killing people. We all know
I think the church teaches, but also we know from our own experience that humans are fallible, make mistakes. Same with the justice system. People have been executed and then found to be actually they were innocent.
Yeah.
How does that is that reframing some of the church teachings?
No, I think again just goes on the point that it's got to be the last resort.
Yeah.
So it's got to be what we call it in the justice system, common law system. We call it beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean mistakes aren't going to be made. But then again, if you keep it for the most heinous crimes, and it's beyond reasonable doubt, and
it's for the common good.
It's for the common good. Yeah, I think that would be acceptable.
Yeah. Okay. So it's acceptable to sacrifice innocent lives.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying mistakes don't get made, but if it's again, it has to be a last resort. The evidence has to be beyond doubt.
But it's
so
one. I guess
in those scenarios, then you can be pretty sure it is them.
Okay, but I read something where someone was making the argument of if one single innocent person gets killed, then that's enough of an argument to say the death penalty is not acceptable to Christians.
I would disagree. I'd say preservation of the common good is the most important thing. But also, how often did that actually happen?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I know we had the problem is we had a criminal justice system that used execution in Britain and quite a lot of the United States that now no longer exists. But that was before modern policing and modern investigations and DNA and all that stuff. So it's hard to compare earlier societies which needed execution as a form to preserve the common good, but it was much harder to actually know that this person had done it or not. But even then, how often were people being executed wrongly? I don't know. Are there figures on that?
I'm sure there are somewhere.
But in the modern system, would that happen? Probably not.
No, it's unlikely, and especially because, as you say, most people just end up getting a life sentence rather than being executed. I mean, I don't know what proportion of people in America actually do get executed.
No, because they have a really long system of
death row for ages.
You have death row because you have to go through all the different retrials and asking for clemency.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because the president signs those clemency things, don't they?
Sometimes he can sign them, or a governor can sign them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So probably actually a very, very small proportion of people
are being executed in the United States.
Again, listeners, you can let us know in the comments if you know that statistics or if you googled it. Right. So I guess the next bit I come on to is the classic social media comments section, where you have a horrible crime story, someone's like a serial rapist or paedophile or murderer, they've killed people in horrible ways, and the comment section is just full of people being like, kill them, death penalty, hang them, shoot them. I guess maybe is there an element of if someone has done something really heinous, they deserve to be killed?
No, again, if we don't need to do it, if it's not necessary to preserve the common good, then no, Catholic teaching would say, no, they don't deserve to die. And the reason for that is there is still that hope that, okay, they may spend 70 years of a life sentence in prison, but there is still hope that, not that they can potentially ever be let out, but through a rehabilitative system, within that prison, they can be rehabilitated to an extent, or they can find Christ, or they can become a Catholic and gain absolution through that. So by keeping them alive, the idea is that it's not just keeping them alive for the sake of it, because it's not much of a life, but it's the hope, by not executing them, the church teaching is hoping that they might find some kind of rehabilitation and redemption from inside.
Because people do quite often find God when they're in prison, don't they?
Yeah.
That's a common story you hear.
So, yeah, right, so you're kind of a Shawshank Redemption kind of scenario. That you find some kind of, by being locked up for years and years and years, you do find some kind of redemption through that process. Yeah.
And I guess you're still abiding by that common good thing because they are locked up off the street, never to get back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I guess it's the whole thing of a lot has changed in a short space of time. Mm. So that's why it's flipped from, let's execute people to no, that's definitely not really necessary anymore. I think also, I guess just the type of execution as over time has changed. So obviously famously, like back in the Tudor times, you had like burning and being hanged, drawn and quartered, and now the only ways really people are executed is lethal injection. And do they still do the electric chair?
As far as I'm aware, they don't. They've brought back, in theory, you can be shot by
Firing squad.
firing squad.
I think that's how I would choose to be executed.
Yeah, I think the idea is Catholic teacher would basically, it has to be as humane, quick and painless as possible. So hang, drawn and quartering, probably not.
Maybe not.
Hanging can. The British system was always quite. It was always,
good at that.
It was always instant for
Yeah.
the British system.
Yeah.
Because we did hanging in a way that basically broke your neck.
And you were dead instantly. Yeah.
Death by firing squad, probably, yeah, because that's, again, extremely quick.
Because I mean,
if you've got good marksmen.
And I guess also the point that I've seen sometimes made these days is lethal injection in your mind is humane because it's just an injection, but it's not like that. They don't just go to sleep.
No.
Like, you might not see it, but they are in like intense pain.
Yeah.
For those last minutes. So I guess it's also about just.
Yeah, I'd actually say lethal injection, having learned, because I thought it was like putting a dog down kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, apparently, yeah, it's not humane at all.
The concoction of drugs they use.
It lasts for too long. It's too painful.
Yeah.
It's not humane at all.
Yeah.
But it sounds nicer, which
Yeah.
is why I think it exists. When actually, no, probably hanging them would be far better.
Yeah, and I guess
a British hanging, not just like stringing them up and just leaving them to strangle, but what we used to do in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, where you try and kill them instantly.
Yeah.
Should we just wrap up there?
Yeah, I think you have answered that question very nicely, and
thank you.
I'm sure your mum will not listen to this,
no,
but
I don't.
You
I
might
haven't told her this exists.
But you might have persuaded her if she listened to this. Yeah, no, I think all very good points, and I guess it feeds back into that thing that comes up a lot about the history of Catholicism and things changing and
developing.
Oh, okay.
Things change. Things don't change. It develops.
They develop. Okay, bit of nuance there. And obviously the catchphrase of this episode is
preserve the common good.
Preserve the common good. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what you guys all think, because I know that when I've been doing my research, this is like one of the biggest discussions and disagreements between Catholics and actually wider Christianity as well. So yeah, let us know in the comments. And make sure you tune in for our next episode, which I believe is going to be explaining a bit more about the Eucharist. Thank you for listening. This has been But He's Catholic. Goodbye.
Goodbye.